It is 6:01. We'll call this meeting to order. Meeting of the Birch Incorporation Association Steering Committee. Today is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. And we'll start with a roll call. Matt Berry, Chair here. Vice Chair Lisa Guthrie.
Here.
Treasurer Sharnon Burnham.
Here.
Secretary Michael Stringham. Here. Jonathan Mallahan. Here. Jason Pulverari. CM Patrick Allison. Here. Yorkson Jean. You should be coming. Caprice Pine, let me know that she won't be able to attend. Michael Rotowski. Here. Jan Barnes is out of town. Lisa Black. Pauline Nefsey should be coming online here pretty soon. Holly Hamilton. Here. And Raymond Chladney. All right.
Jason.
Hey, there's Jason.
Back from Mexico, the world traveler.
Amberman.
I know, I knew you were there, and then when I heard you were in Mexico. I thought, good grief.
All right, the September steering committee meeting minutes with BB Warm and Linden Chamber of Commerce representatives. They were sent out earlier this week for review. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions or comments or notes, changes?
Lisa will move acceptance to the minute.
Second there.
All right, Mike seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the September minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We'll roll right into open session, public comment. We do have a guest. Oh, I forgot to mention. Our state representatives, Joe Timmons and Alicia Rule canceled in the last minute. So I think they had legislative duties, Alicia said, and Joe Timmons had something come up the very last minute. So what I'm kind of hoping for, we have lots to discuss with the third annual general meeting coming up and just all sorts of things. So we'll try to make up for it with a good discussion. And non-committee guests are welcome to chime in. We've got 4 people online as well. So don't hesitate to raise your hand if you want to ask a question or comment. We do have some time now, though, for open session, public comment, where you can have 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like. Is there anybody who'd like to make public comment?
I would say the people that decided to cancel here, was there some reason for that other than a general issue of legislative issues? Is there a lack of concern or a lack of empathy or?
Can't say that it was just an email from a staffer that said, you know, something came up last minute.
How to throw it out there.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thing to throw out. We all tried to decipher it.
Both representatives said, you know, something along the lines of, we'd be happy to come back after session in the spring or suggested rescheduling. And we said, well, we have kind of a regular meeting schedule, so we're not going to change it last minute here.
I'm disappointed too, because a few weeks ago I ran into Joe Timmons' mother. And I suggested to him or her that she should have Joe start reading the Wall Street Journal because it's really good information. So he's not here, so I can't, integrate him on that.
I would say it's a short session and the state's dealing with a massive budget shortfall.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think we should grant our representatives some grace, because they wouldn't have said they'd come if they didn't intend to. And
That's right.
there's a lot of demands on their time right now. So I that's my take, is they're having to work really hard.
Maybe we can try to pin them down for an interview or like a daytime meeting or something flexible and gather questions. And
Yeah, if they could
Even
grant us a
Zoom
Zoom or
is-
something like that, that's easier, might be easier to accommodate their busy
Yeah.
time right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for what it's worth, the lobbyist for Whatcom County presented to the county council, I think was last week. And so that might actually be of interest to us. I can see if I can get that link for you guys, and it sort of covers all of the issues that are coming up about
Mhm.
funding and
Yeah.
that sort of thing and how it's affecting Whatcom County.
is there anyone else you'd like to make public comment?
My favorite part is the public comment. So if you want to yell at us, go ahead.
Yeah, just,
I'm not gonna yell at, and say that it's my experience with our local representatives, that they're, very dismissive. Very dismissive. They don't have consultants that think that these activities that you're requesting to participate in butter their bread.
Mm.
I have a hunch that they get backdoored very easily, and, I'm mad as hell, and I ain't gonna take it. I'm gonna find other elected officials that will support the local community. Front and center. She has staff, Joe has staff, they could be here.
all right. Well, this isn't the only opportunity to participate, so we'll move on for now, and if anything comes up during the meeting, don't hesitate to raise your hand.
Yeah.
But we are joined by Joan Connell, and you're a commissioner on the Birch Bay Water and Sewer, right? Currently, and running for re-election.
Correct.
You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit, and just please speak up too, because we have a mic in the middle of the table.
Oh, here's the mic.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Tell me if I'm loud enough.
Okay.
Well, thank you for inviting me here. I really appreciate it. And it's nice to have two commissioners at the table, right? Patrick, you were commissioner
I know too
Water and
much, yeah.
Sewer District for many years, so it's very nice. I want to just say, offer my gratitude for the work that BBIA has done over the past year or so. You've done remarkable work. You've brought the community together on some really important issues and really pointed it toward the future. So I congratulate you for what you've done and wish you the best of success. It's hard to imagine that in 1968, when the Water and Sewer District was formed, that Birch Bay was kind of a mess. It had a patchwork of local water companies and private wells and failing septic tanks, and the bay was filthy and harvested crabs at your peril. You know, it was it was a different place. And more than 50 years later, Birch Bay is pristine. We have the cleanest drinking water and among the most responsible wastewater management in the state. And we pay almost the lowest rates of any water district in the state. And so, as a candidate for a full term on the board, I intend to work to keep it that way. Costs are number one, in my opinion. So I want to say I'm here not to represent the district. I can't speak for the district. I'm a candidate. So I'm speaking solely for myself. I hope that this could be, I know you have tons of work to do tonight, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I'm not going to bore you with my bio, but you can pass these around and you can find out a little bit more about me. I'd like this to be a listening session so that you can hear some of the things that I care about, and I can hear from you the water related issues that you as a group or as individuals care about. And on the back of this flyer is kind of a list of issues, and I'd like to kind of go through them. My biggest issue is affordability, and I want to keep those water and sewer rates fair and affordable to all, and that's a big lift. As you know, 20% of our residents in Birch Bay are living at or below the poverty line. The senior citizens or people on limited income, they're the ones who have the hardest time paying their water bills. It's not free, it ain't free. And so we need to ensure that they get the help they need to pay their water bills. And we also just need to keep the water and sewer rates low for everyone. So that's my issue. As you probably know, the water district has no taxing authority. Our customers pay for the water that they use and nothing more, nothing less. No surcharges, no usage taxes. But we purchase our water from the city of Blaine. And they tax it very heavily, and our costs from Blaine go up significantly every year, and it's a big concern. You know that we have groundwater, we pull our groundwater from the Blaine Sumas Aquifer, which is a big underground lagoon of varying water quality that stretches from Abbotsford, BC down to Ferndale. And from Birch Point to Sumas, big, 150 square miles. And so protecting the integrity of that aquifer is so important, and it's one of our main issues. We really think of ourselves as the district as the guardians of that watershed. And, it is imperiled by things like fertilizer runoff from dairy farms and whatever, but also development. The more development we have, the less ability that aquifer has to recharge. So safeguarding the aquifer is a huge issue. Flooding, coastal flooding is another big issue for the district. Because we have a major flood and our pumping stations are inoperable, you will not get your water. And we're gonna have to think as extreme weather continues. And coastal flooding is a fact of life for us. We'll have to think about, we, the district, have to think about moving our supply lines away from the shoreline. So that's a huge issue. I don't know, you probably all know this, but there was a study done this summer by the county, looked up involving flooding. And there are 1,100 structures in Birch Bay that would be at serious risk when we have our next major flood. Now we have the berm, so maybe we're okay, but that's a kind of sobering fact of life for
It's about
us.
20%, right?
What's that?
About 20% of the homes.
I don't know the percentage actually, but you probably can do the math.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot, and it's homes, businesses, the district itself, headquarters is, one of those structures, so anyway, and so those are the big issues. The other kind of ongoing issues for me and for the district are to promote conservation of water and ecologically responsible gardening and landscaping. I'm a gardener and I care very much about that. So anyway, those are my issues. What are your issues? What are as you think of the future of Birch Bay?
Yeah, you said something that intrigued me about concerns you have about development and the system's ability to have capacity for that.
Right.
What's your plan for that? Because Birch Bay is going to develop and infrastructure should support that in a responsible way. So how can we achieve that?
Great question. The first way is, first off, the district doesn't do land use, zoning, any of that. We just do water. So there's a lot that we can't control. But preserving our wetlands, the wetlands are going to be the source. That's how the aquifer recharges, is through rain falls in the wetlands, it percolates down. It's simple. So I think probably the most proactive way to think about it is to be sure that the wetlands here are not classified for development. That's one piece of it. I'm not an engineer, there may be some other things, but that is, that's just kind of my ongoing concern. What are the things that we do when we think about the future? Do we ever really think of that aquifer as part of the impact of any kind of development? I'm not sure that everybody does. So.
Lisa's question.
Yes.
The aquifer is what I was going to raise that issue right now in the face of the comp plan updates.
Mhm.
And the potential development that's being, that had been requested by Blaine out on Birch Point,
Yeah,
with them stating that there's no aquifer there at all.
Yeah.
Despite all the evidence that we have that there is documented elsewhere. So that proposal's on hold right now, but they plan on coming back with it. We met with them yesterday again.
You met with Blaine?
Well,
Did
we
you?
attended this,
We're
they
getting-
did their presentation was for the Semiahmoo community. But basically, the people that showed up were some other government people and three of us from Birch Bay, who had a lot to say.
That's right. I hadn't even seen that posted.
They know our
well,
name. We can talk about that. We can talk about that in a
Okay.
different
Yeah.
spot here, but I guess as far as the Birch Bay Water and Sewer District, appreciate that that's a focus and that needs to stay in the forefront with regards to, you guys don't do land use, but you do get us to comment on the comp plan proposals, is my understanding.
We
And so
do.
that's, yeah.
Yes, and we work we have worked very hard and continue to have collegial communications with all aspects of government, you know, and to try and find reasonable solutions. So we try not to be confrontational but really try to do the engineering, do the math, and be sure we're all in the realm of reality as opposed to, you know, aspiration.
One of the things Birch Bay Water Sewer District approach is growth pays for growth.
Right.
We're not gonna subsidize growth. And they have to deal with a county who sometimes doesn't come through the right way. Because there's areas like the storage areas up on Alderson Road. The guy put in storage. He didn't want to put the sewer up there, and he should have. But Birch Bay as a city would do a lot better job of protecting a super good resource that we have, which is Birch Bay water and sewer. And I can point to other things too, where Blaine is, oh, yeah, we'll get some more growth. We'll subsidize it a little bit. And then it costs them more and more and more in the long run.
Right.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
I just want to add, and we've got a question from this gentleman. Birch Bay Water and Sewer, Sandy McMillan, the general manager, and Dan Isis, the previous general manager, came to one of our meetings earlier this year, and they brought a thick informational report that had a ton of information about how good the water quality is and efforts they're doing to keep it that way, and how the pricing is competitive with everyone else. Some historical information. It's on our website, wearebirchbay.org, on the public records side of things. You can scroll down and click the report, but definitely worth taking a look at. They came prepared, more prepared than anyone else in one of our meetings. It's impressive. But yes, sir, you had a question?
You know what, well, I just mentioned it, if Blaine gets their water from the Sumas aquifer.
Yep.
And it's up to eventually make its way to Birch Bay, okay, so the wetlands around Greater Birch Bay are not contributing to the water supply, the household water supply, correct?
Maybe not specifically, but aquifers have no boundaries, right? So we just have to have from an ecological point of view, just.
Yeah, that's another
Preserving
issue,
it.
I'm supporting
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but I think
But no, there's-
arguing from the standpoint of our water supply,
Mm.
household water supply or business water supply, I think is a whole different can of worms, and I would support whoever wants to argue it from an environmental standpoint. I worry that the developers have a case to say, you know, but it's it's not really benefiting it.
Yeah,
Wetlands are critical everywhere.
that's a really good point, and I think often when we talk about development, the planners tend to think about traffic. Or maybe sometimes flooding, but I don't ever see the aquifer being like top of mind for anyone, and people get very cavalier about this aquifer. They say, oh, we've got unlimited supply of water, it's great, it's groundwater. But what if we have a 5-year drought? Or what, all the things that can go wrong.
Mhm.
What if that aquifer doesn't get recharged? We have to do our part in growing smartly so that we can get the growth that we want, but still protect the environment.
We don't necessarily want growth, but it's gonna come.
Yeah, it's gonna come.
In terms of wetlands, we do have wetlands at Birch Bay. I don't know if they're feeding an aquifer, but they are a resource. And one of the possible future uses of that resource is that water could go from that through the sewer at low times for the sewer, because if you have excess times that you in your sewer district, you can let more water flow through it. And that water could be sent off to areas like BP.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so there's,
Yeah,
there's,
there's no boundaries.
it takes planning.
Yeah.
Also, you know, you take the area along Blaine Road. And that is a good area for growth. Because that's where the sewer can run. And it's off of down here, but up there. So that's an area that we need to be looking at in terms of growth. Okay, I'll shut up.
With regards to Birch Point, I did read that at Birch Bay Water and Sewer District along with Blaine had a potential testing. Either has been done in the last few years or will be done to test if that water would be, potential potable and potential future additional source of water, and the potential to then maybe bifurcate the system and have Birch Bay water coming this direction or whatever. So has been at least something that's been explored. I don't know where it is in the process.
Right, it's a big question.
I did point this out before, but I'll do it again. The Birch Bay Water Sewer District took over a little water association on Birch Point. Because they ran to the point where their water was running out because of growth at Semiahmoo. So it affects what goes into the ground for water.
Right.
Storage.
It's interesting that there's a precedent there of running out of water.
Yeah,
Do you remember the name of that association? It's in your.
I think,
no, but
I
it's
think I found it in the documents, the Birch Bay
Yeah.
Water District documents.
I'm curious, and I really appreciate you, so you're committed to keeping rates low. And at the same time, I know that, commodity costs and labor costs and the primary costs of, water and sewer district infrastructure heavy utilities are going up at rates above inflation. So, how is it then, how can rates be kept low? What are your thoughts there?
Good question. Boy, if I had the answer to that question, we wouldn't be tearing our hair out on all of these questions. But I think responsible management, careful planning. Really plan. The other thing I did talk about very much is planning for the future. We have to think perhaps about other sources of water other than Blaine. Blaine is charging us lots of money, and here's another thing that kind of relates to the incorporation effort. And it's kind of scary to me. Municipalities under Washington state law can unilaterally impose taxes on utility districts. So there's a town in eastern Washington, and I can't quite pull it out right now, Spokane Valley possibly, but they have a 149% tax on their water simply because their city council could do it. And I think the talking point for the association that I've always heard is that no taxes would be raised without a vote of the people, but Washington state law does allow a municipality to do that. So I say, that's an issue to put on your table to figure out, because that's gonna be, a major source of rate increases if that ever happens.
I do just want to note that the conditions that led to that disparity in utility rates were that the county wanted to prevent annexation of resource-rich areas within the urban growth boundary to preserve the revenue the county was receiving. So the city was not able to gain revenue from those areas that they would be collecting property taxes, but they were required to extend utilities because they were within the urban growth boundary. So there's
Right,
It-
it's complicated.
it's essentially I mean, it's right, but there's if the county would allow annexation, those rates would go down to the same rates everyone else pays.
So, okay, so they're servicing outside their area. So it wouldn't be
Yeah, so
like-
the city is
Yeah,
required to
that-
extend those services. They have no way
Yeah, no, that's
to
understandable.
offset the higher.
Yeah.
I just
no,
want, it's like, I think,
Yeah.
I would just say that those conditions may not exist
That might not apply to
here.
this
Yeah,
situation, but,
but it could.
but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, but see, in terms of a utility tax,
Mhm.
it might work. It wouldn't need to be very high.
Yeah.
And some of the reasons why you'd want to have some sort of tax there is if in the future, we're a city and there needs to be work going on along the road, Birch Bay Drive, you'll need to have some protection. Police protection or whatever. So I'm not obsessed about utility tax, but I wouldn't
You're not
object
opposed.
to it. But also, we have electrical services with a power company running through here that's maintaining stuff in our right of way. The utility tax on them, I wouldn't worry about that. Oh, phone service, right? So taxes and cities tend to morph over the years. They tend to go away from the people who own property to the people who are using services. This is just my observation.
Any
Okay.
other questions or?
I know you have an awful lot on your plate this
Oh.
evening, and I don't want to take up too much.
No, this was great. It was good conversation.
Yeah,
So,
Very.
so please, if you have questions or issues, my email is somewhere on that flyer. For Birch Bay, Gmail.
And you wrote a really good article a while back.
Yep.
That Birch Bay is a patchwork reminded me of it. People should Google that, but it really, I don't know, it helped me visualize kind of the messy nature of Birch Bay with all these overlapping districts and things that have accumulated over the years. Check that out. It's,
I think we have a link on our website.
I think we've got it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, Howard was a
Find it.
Cascadia Daily News, in media on our website, I believe it's linked there a couple years ago. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Okay,
You're
well,
welcome to
thank you,
stay.
Yeah.
hang around, I sometimes think of Birch Bay as being like. Who was the monster that was built out of parts of people? Frankenstein. And we have a water sewer district. That's the part that works. We have a Birch Bay Warm, which, we have a lighting district here.
No,
We have places where we want to have lights, but the lighting district won't put lights there because,
no.
yeah.
The Zoom crew is giving you some compliments too right now. Might be something.
Yeah.
We'll move into, executive committee report. We've got thanks, man. A couple of things there. A number of our committees didn't have a meeting the last month, but I'm sure we'll come up with things, potential tasks and opportunities for the different committees. We'll start with executive committee. So, first off, feasibility study update. I've been checking in every 2-3 weeks with Amy Keenan, who's the project manager at Whatcom County Planning and Development Services, who's overseeing the feasibility study and working with CAI, the consultant group who's working on the feasibility study. We are still on track for receiving the feasibility study by the end of the year. I'm really pushing for trying to have something in our hands by the November 20th annual general meeting. We did get an exciting email today. She said, I'm working with a consultant. By the end of the week, we're looking to have the draft assumptions memo, a summary model for preliminary review, and a high-level summary of engagement findings posted on our website. There was a chance we could get them today, but that didn't end up happening. So pretty soon here, as soon as I get that email, and she'll probably send it to the steering committee Google Groups email, but give that a good look and we'll have some more stuff to talk about. The contract, I printed 10 or 12 new copies of the feasibility study contract that are on the back table there. If anybody wants to grab that, take a look at it. It's pulled it from the county website. There should be opportunities early in the process to review comparable cities, their model methodologies, that kind of stuff. And then at any point, people can go to the just Google Birch Bay feasibility study, and it'll take you to the website at the county's website. There is an email address there if you want to submit comment on it. So don't hesitate to reach out and, you know, whatever you want to say, look into this, or I'm concerned about this, or don't forget about short-term rentals, you know, whatever comment you have, we encourage you to go make it. They had really, really good community engagement via the survey. The total survey responses, it was close to 700, right?
Nice, yeah,
Yeah.
690 something, so yeah, it's amazing.
And just for reference, earlier in the year, when we had kind of an introductory meeting with them, you know, they were asking us, can you help us promote the survey? We said, absolutely, you know, how many do you need? They said 200 would be good.
Yeah,
So
200.
I don't think they expected that kind of engagement, so we're just proud of that. Any questions about the feasibility study update or thoughts on that? Jonathan, you've got a little more experience with feasibility studies or working with consultants, I think. What are your thoughts on how this is progressing, and what do you think we're gonna see maybe by the end of the day tomorrow?
I don't know that I have enough context or real data how it's progressing to comment on that. I would just say I know that these projects are incredibly complex, and I trust. I've had such great experiences with Amy and the team of the county. I really trust their ability to manage the consultant.
Good.
Cool. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. This on the agenda here, the homeschool students civics project. So this was something that came about between our last steering committee meeting and our last executive committee meeting, but we had a gentleman reach out to us named Joel Kennedy. He lives in Birch Bay, has a whole bunch of kids who they homeschool, and they're interested in civics writing. So he via the Chamber of Commerce got in touch with me and was asking about opportunities for their kids to learn a little bit about local civics and maybe have some involvement in the group and the overall discussion on integration.
Okay, great.
So we met. I printed up the assignment that we ended up coming up with, Joel and I. But basically, we've asked the Kennedy kids to take a look at the Municipal Research Services Center Incorporation Guide and then the previous feasibility study, and then browse examples of nearby cities, Blaine, Linden, Ferndale, how they're structured and governed, and let us know what they recommend as far as the form of government, mayor, council, or council manager, and then to recommend classification. So code city, second class city, first class city, those kind of things. It's all information that has been covered a little bit in the 2008 feasibility study. I'm sure we'll get some recommendations in the new one, but I think it's going to be real neat to see what they come up with. And the goal is they're going to do this research, write a little report, and then present it at our annual general meeting next month. So
Awesome.
how cool is that?
You're very cool.
That's awesome. I hope they can then take over the research and feasibility.
I don't know if this
Next
counts as
semester.
child labor or not.
Love it.
That's
Very good, John.
Yeah, so they're pretty enthusiastic about that. Speaking of the annual general meeting, so our next meeting will be our third annual general meeting and steering committee election. It'll be 1 week before Thanksgiving. We have on the back table, applications for folks who want to join the steering committee. So this will be our third steering committee. We elect, committee members to 1-year terms. No compensation, it's all volunteer work. And then we elect officers and that kind of thing after the November meeting. Basically, anybody who lives in Birch Bay or owns property in Birch Bay can participate on the steering committee. We organized that in the beginning so that folks who, if this proceeds to to the ballot, there's going to be people who won't have an opportunity to vote on it, who have an interest here. So we're trying to give them an opportunity to be involved now. And we have had people on our committee who, own second properties here and that kind of stuff. But anybody who's interested in it, I would recommend or encourage you to go to our website or pick up one of these paper copies of the application, fill it out, turn it in. The paper ones you can mail to us. There's a PO box on the application, or you can scan it and email it to the group email, or get it to the committee members. We also have on the front page of the website, fill it out online, or you can pick out an application from them. So far, we have 6 applicants. In the past, we had, I think last year we had 14 or 15. Previous year, we had 23. I'm expecting we'll get some more, and I'll be reaching out to all current and previous steering committee members in the next month here to encourage them to reapply. But give it a look, or if somebody who you think would be interested in it, recommend it to them. Where are we here? So the next meeting, annual general meeting, it's gonna be 1 week before Thanksgiving. I know the committees are starting to kind of wind down a little bit because we're kind of waiting for a feasibility study. And we've completed our infographic goals and whatnot. I'm hoping though we could put together at least the different committees, short summaries of what we've done in the past year, kind of like we did last year. So we can say we did this, we raised this much money from this many donors, that kind of thing. If you have any ideas, let us know what might be useful there. But kind of one last ask for a couple slides worth of information for the PowerPoint.
I think that's really important. The committees have done an awful lot of work over the last year. And so I think it's really important to summarize it and emphasize how much work has been done and the information that has gone out to the public. They encourage the committee chairs to find a student to write it for them.
We can turn this all over to children though. The other thing we talked about at the executive committee meeting earlier this month, as far as kind of a theme for this one, because it's going to come out either right around when we have an updated feasibility study or shortly beforehand. One of the big goals of this group was to collect a lot of input and opinions and thoughts and comment and all that kind of stuff, and facilitate this discussion. We want to lean into in our main presentation. Here's what we've heard. People want to protect the bay. People want to, have responsible growth, if any, this and that. So we're going to be kind of compiling all of the comments and everything we have. And we've received over the past 2 and some years, I think it's like 1,500 comments.
A lot.
Not necessarily 1,500 different people, but we have a lot of opinions that we can kind of cobble together and that. I'm thinking too, because it's close to Thanksgiving, maybe working some things you're thankful for, like this beautiful bay or whatever. But I think we should have a good AGM. Any other thoughts on that? No. One other thing here, I got a call from Ron at Birch Bay Realty the other day.
I just assumed that you had that he gave you permission to use it all the time.
So he
It's interesting because
It's the same logo.
go ahead with how you
Go ahead.
developed it, because I did one too and they were almost identical. Like
Ron
I mean,
called and he said, have you ever noticed the BBIA logo looks a lot like my brokerage's logo? I said, no, but now that you mention it, it's identical. Yes.
I never thought of it either.
And he was very kind. He said, no, you don't have to change it. You know, he wanted to make sure that, future iteration of the group or something wouldn't come and say, you need to find a new logo because
Oh, right.
and I said, no, I don't think that's gonna happen, but that logo was almost a placeholder, like it was made in Canva, just as something to put on emails. So suggestion to the communications committee, if you want to do something in the next month, maybe look into a new logo that doesn't be,
No, no.
a nice business.
That'll be a little bit.
Actually, I'm the culprit that mentioned that's the Ron.
You brought it to his attention.
Yes, see.
Okay,
And you know, my only concern was that people think, oh, developers are behind this.
Well, it's
They do.
interesting that you bring that up because I'm getting a lot of those comments when I talk to people. That
Developer.
the executive committee is comprised of people who are developers who want to direct.
yeah.
Is
At
anybody-
the beginning,
I
they
guess-
say, you know, it's realtors and developers
Yeah.
and it's
And if
like.
there's any real developer I would want to have be on it would be Ron, because I like his approach.
Yeah.
My response to this is basically, it would
Leave it.
go along with what I think, leave it for certain things, however. It's gonna be dependent on the feasibility study, and then we'd be rebranding ourselves anyway,
Right.
depending on the result
right.
of that feasibility study. So it's the time to refresh and have a new take, a new tack for our sailor going forward,
Just
right?
for what it's, I mean, so the state of Oregon, if you work for a city council or something like that, you actually have to declare any conflict of interest. And I just wondered if that would be something that this committee might want to consider. So that it's, you know, full transparency and disclosure, and so then it's easy to point to that and say, that's not an issue.
I think, you know, when we have our elections are a month away, so our feasibility study is gonna be around then. And depending on the results of the feasibility study, we change, per our bylaws, we change. And that would be a good time for that rebrand for that type of information,
Yeah.
and that's some of the projects that particularly communications will have going on into the new year, and, you know, maybe there'll be some new gung ho person to step up. Since I was temporary to begin with.
You were, but I'd also like to see the community input on a logo, on a new logo.
That's
to
a
move
nice
forward,
idea.
because there's some really talented people out there that
Double
would have to,
contest.
right? Sure.
That's a great idea.
What are the
Maybe
communities
those
doing
kids-
next month?
Hire an expert. Let him draw it up. You know, those kids might be able to come up with one.
Graphic design.
Well, we should just
Good idea.
put it on the record that we're not gonna try to claim ownership of the sun, baby.
Yeah.
And not a crab.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
crabs.
But, and yeah, Ron was super nice about it.
I have a
Just
crab.
thought,
He's he for a whole year gave a percentage of his sales to the Birch Bay Friends Library Group,
Yes,
and it was really helpful.
yes.
That's wonderful.
well, that's all I have for executive committee report, unless I missed anything, Lisa, Charmin, and Michael.
We should look at the notes.
Was I in?
No, you write it out. Lisa, do you want to give an update on communications? Talk about the soundbite?
Well, yes, it's here. And it's, there's a big one there in the back, so, okay, so if you put that in the portfolio, to go along to the meetings. So another successful soundbite, very well done with, showing everybody what it's gonna take. And that, we're still way up here.
I'm gonna pull it up for the people on Zoom here, so we can just talk, but
It looks like, for them at the back of the room, right, it just looks like a snake.
Yeah, it is.
We have a couple of other, communications also has a couple of other invitations to have info booth that I'll put out to the committee, but we really are at that point where without more new information, it's a little, we're just sitting here right now, so close to the feasibility study, you know, and it's just gonna depend on time. We all have a lot of other commitments going on, and I think there's a balance there, but we'll see what the committee thinks about doing any of those and then invite as much help as we can for staffing those. And then I think, I don't know what committee it falls under, maybe it's finance, the parking for New Year's. So, but that's gonna
Well, you're
take
trying-
everybody.
You're gonna try to shove it to finance.
Oh, maybe.
We were offered the opportunity to host the parking, paid parking at the Polar Bear Plunge.
Yep.
So again, 4 volunteers minimum for that. That would actually be a fairly short one because the event's at noon.
Yeah.
And so it'd be from like, 7:30 or 8 to noon, just park as many cars as you can.
Yeah.
And it's well worth the effort.
Yeah, Michael,
Michael was great. We've got some experience
We're
here.
gonna bring the RV.
I got some
down.
experience in that.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring the RV down so we have a place to warm up after, so let's see. We'll be there for the morning. But anyway.
If I could ask with Michael's permission that we have a very short conversation about whether or not it makes sense to convene a meeting of the research committee and the communications committee. I don't want to belabor the point because I know we don't have consensus necessarily on this, but Michael has done some great work to identify sort of comparable revenues for other cities. And not making the claim that they will be the revenues of Birch Bay, but with the intent of just educating and sharing what do other cities in our region. And so would it make sense for us to come together as jointly as 2 committees to evaluate that and make a recommendation on a potential soundbite? So I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's not a
I
bad
think it's a good idea.
You don't want to wait for the feasibility just because you're so close. I mean, I just think it's,
Well, I don't.
what if it's so extreme that you're surprised? I mean,
It may
it
be.
may or may not be, but I mean, it's this close.
I think, and not to put words in Michael's mouth, he's sitting right there, but I think the spirit of this is not, we're making a definitive statement that it has anything, about what we expect Birch Bay to collect, but
Right.
just it is here are what cities are collecting. And so Michael, do you want to explain? I mean, what you?
Yeah, I think you're quite correct. It wasn't to make any expectation of what Birch Bay would do, because that's up to a city council. And quite frankly, the immediate city councils over the first couple, 3 years won't be anywhere near close to that because they need to make decisions on a progressive basis. But what we were getting from the surveys that we're doing is this is the number one issue, is local control of taxes and fees and revenues. And when you talk to people, their perception is that it's property tax.
Mhm.
And it's clearly not when you look at the other comparable cities. So it's no different than, for example, when we did the soundbite on policing, we looked at comparable cities. We didn't make any suggestion at that time of what a city of Birch Bay would be, although that evolved and we were pretty close on those numbers. So I think it was just trying to answer one of the most important issues that people were identifying on the surveys of, what would we have? What local control would we have? And what does all that mean? When I started looking at it in detail, it gets very complicated, obviously, because every city's different. And what I felt was important was that maybe focus on the top 5 revenue sources for operations only, not for capital improvements. And so that eliminates sources like the REIT, but does identify where the other sources come and what proportion, which was really important to me, was what proportion of revenues that property taxes make. And I was quite surprised. I would have thought it would have been at least half. And it's not even close for those comparable cities. I don't know if there are cities that rely totally on property tax, but it just, the way we compared again, things like policing and other things with local cities, it just gives people that basis of information that there is other sources out there.
Do you have an idea of how you could present that in a soundbite way?
I did in the spreadsheet that I shared with executive.
Yeah,
And I shared it with Jonathan, and I think you sent it out too.
well, I saw the spreadsheet, but I mean, would that be what the sound
The
bite would
last
be,
page
just
of the
so you guys-
spreadsheet had the issues. The
Yeah.
graphics of
Mhm.
it,
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw
are
that.
pretty simple, just the ones we've done.
Like a pie chart would work, right?
Good, yeah.
a pie chart for each city, because the percentages are different,
Or just the
or
average.
the average
Yeah.
of those cities.
I
Okay,
think
that's
the
the-
key issue before we get to that is, are the numbers accurate? And I think you had done a little bit of review on them and found one discrepancy. So that's the first thing to get fixed is making sure that the numbers are correct. When I went back over it, I think I might have transposed the budgets for Blaine and Ferndale, I think.
Oh, okay, that.
2024 and
Yeah.
2025, and I may have flipped them, but it was just what I had found on their websites, the most recent stuff. So, yeah, I'd be happy to sit down with other folks and go through it.
I guess I would propose is that we would, I think this could be a half an hour meeting. I mean, I don't think we need I mean, if the research is there, we've done some data verification in advance. I think it comes down to a conversation between the two committees of, how can we display this in a way that's helpful, or should we display this? And, if people are willing to do the time, I know everyone's super busy, and I haven't minded taking a bit of hiatus on the meetings as this time of year, but I just want to honor the work that Michael did. It was good work and could be helpful to folks.
Yeah.
If we're going to do, have you got it, Yorkson? Was it ever distributed to you?
I think it went to executive committee and then it was just kind of on,
Well, and then it
And then-
went to research.
yeah.
It might be useful to give Yorkson a heads up on it. Sort of the basics, and we can make the corrections, but it seems to me that you're the graphic guru. I give you some thoughts,
No, I also was all my work.
Pardon?
I also was all my work to kids.
Your staff.
Glad to see you're keeping them busy.
Excellent. Well, Darman, would you like to give an update on finances?
Okay, finances, for September through October 16th, as you can see, we have income with dividends of $100.17. We do have checks for $200 from stakeholders that are yet to be deposited as well. With expenses that were $480, which are roughly our monthly expenses of Zoom, our rental check for here, constant contact email program, mailbox, and of course, the barbecue food was well spent. Was $480.20. So in the bank right now, we have $3,941.65. Definitely would love to do parking. I will be there all day. My husband will be there. So we really.
Sign up list, because I think the two Michaels have already signed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
excellent. The reason we're saying is we did it for 2 days for one of the last sandcastle contest, and we raised divided it 50% with the chamber, and we received about 3,000 and the chamber received 3,000. So if somebody says, well, is it worth your time? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So even for 1 day would be a big help, because once we get fast and looking at feasibility, and if we do make that switch, we're gonna need to do the mailers, more with HOAs. A lot of things, a lot of expenses are gonna be coming up, so we'll be looking at different ways to raise money. And I really truly believe if the feasibility study comes and we decide to move forward, there are other opportunities out there once that shift happens for money to help us. So that's all good.
And people that are doing the parking, they don't have to be in their bathing suits.
No, in fact, it should be well closed.
Forget the bathing suits.
It'll be wearing here, yeah.
You were in my polar bear fur.
We've talked, mentioned a couple of times about, the switch or when the feasibility study comes and whatnot. I just wanted to touch on, so our bylaws say that if, were to explore, and if found feasible, then advocate for incorporation. We did, we have a candidate statement that I thought had a pretty nice sentence about this that kind of, I think is a real balanced way of looking at it. Jan said, this will either give us a roadmap to continue forward with sharing the findings with our neighbors, or will indicate the incorporation is not financially feasible. And if not, we need to determine how to ratchet up our involvement and awareness with Whatcom County. I like that. So kind of, we haven't talked a lot about what the feasibility says. It's, you can't have a financially viable city ready to go from there. But
I think there's potentially a discussion though, if the feasibility study doesn't look blatantly favorable, that does not preclude the group from feeling that the effort is still worth pursuing.
it's very subjective.
It's subjective, right? And so then that would be a discussion. It doesn't state there that it's based on the outcome of the county funded feasibility study. If you read that sentence, so that's just something else that's out there. And then, yeah, I like what she had to say, but I think there's somebody in the room that I'd like to have say something about too. Dave's back there, and I want to make sure that we talk about the BBCAC a second tonight too, before we go.
Yeah, we can do that.
I really think that this is probably something that we should focus on at the AGM. I had forgotten until you read this to us about 3 or 4 months ago, that that is part of our mission. Our mandate is, if it is feasible, we're gonna go and promote the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to focus on that at the AGM. If the feasibility study is not positive, then it's a really heavy lift, and you're talking years and years. But if it is positive, you have a short window to make that election target that you'd prefer. So I really think you need to ratchet it up.
Is there a way that we can get some of the feasibility in advance of the AGM? Because I do think that or move the AGM. I just think it's so influential, right?
That's what moving isn't a bad idea. That's, however, our bylaws say at the November meeting is when we have the steering committee election.
Yeah.
That's why I've been pretty annoying with the project manager saying, we need something. And then finally, we kind of turned into the mode of, hey, the contract says that this information will be available early in the process.
Right.
We're not.
Yeah, if I can just,
Excuse me.
jump in as a
Go for it.
former consultant. You cannot rely on any of these deadlines. And I keep hearing that, we're gonna have this information shortly. The odds are 50-50. They can get it by the end of the year.
We've been working with
by the end of the
consultants
year.
the whole year on our comp plan, so I
So
understand that.
we've got all of November and December. And what I've seen in the last couple of months, over the summer, it's logical, but the energy in this group is dissipating quickly. I don't think any of the committees have had a meeting in 1 or 2 months. We've missed executive meetings sometimes. And I just see the energy just flattening, and by the time we get to the answer, it's going to be like, is there anybody interested anymore? So I'm really concerned about that, and I really think we just have to be optimistic on that one line. Sort of like going back to the Constitution and saying, what did they mean by that?
Actually,
But I don't feel like energy, I think we're preserving our energy.
And
And that,
Yeah.
I think I think everybody who's on this committee is ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we also don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
I've been
we're being
here before.
respectful of the process.
The process. and-
All I'm
and-
suggesting is that, we have this beautiful snake that shows the big long thing.
It's a
And,
ribbon.
and over the next 2 months, I think that maybe this is the next piece for research or executive, is to lay out specific target dates on the assumption that by the end of the year, you get a positive read. If the feasibility study isn't published until February, we've probably lost the window anyways.
Yeah.
But it's just that, that short little window that you've got.
Yeah, we haven't made it public to the full committee, but it has been a conversation in executive, and there is a couple of pieces of that puzzle that, for example, the boundary review board currently only meets in January and July. January and July. And so if you don't get in on the January meeting, which is virtually impossible by the end of the year, then it gets there, and then they have up to 180 days, and then you've missed November. And so, yeah, there are some very specific milestones that we need to hit, and need to be prepared to jump on what has to happen to get to those.
I mean, I tell people, don't expect a definitive answer. It's not gonna come out like that. I had quoted this too,
It was very clear.
with crossing your legs does not work for pregnant. We need to
We
take
don't need
care
to
of
use
this.
that one anymore.
Sorry.
As a step to Jerry, and I've given him
Well,
give the
let's
free pass on that. It's another old joke.
Try something else.
The recent one by the same consultant was fairly definitive.
Yeah, you can take a look at the dash point Browns point one for a little bit of a preview on maybe what to expect.
I think it'll look pretty well identified.
They're in completely different community, so yeah, but I think it'll look in format and model, I think it'll be pretty similar to that. It's the same consultant group that did that one in the last year.
Did we find out how long it took them to do that one? Do we know?
No, but that is something we could track down.
We should
But
try and find
when-
that out.
When Department of Commerce contracted with them to when it was delivered.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a
I'd
good
like
idea.
to know that.
Yeah, I'll look into that tonight. I'm happy to excuse the little bit of, how do you say it? Not slacking, but we took a couple of months with other focuses and whatnot, and kind of a little bit of waiting. But I just want to encourage everybody, one solid push to the AGM. Get together everything you think should be said. Talk about what you did in the past year, because every committee did a lot. And I think that's the one meeting. The way we structured this group was we meet monthly. Quarterly, we have a meeting where we present our findings, but the AGMs where we summarize everything we did in the year. So let's promote it and make sure everyone's invited, and we've got some good information to give to them. And we have a month to do it, so shouldn't take too much, but I think we can put on a good presentation for folks.
I think that's a good perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more information I think we give the people, the better off we're gonna be. Because, I mean, don't make assumptions, facts. Because assumptions can kill you, but give them some information. We've talked to a number of people, well, we haven't had the meeting at Harborview.
HOA meetings.
They had some good questions.
They were
But
surprised a lot of them.
yeah, I was surprised at the number of people that said, I was against you, but now after the information you've given us, I'll support you.
That raises an interesting question. So given that where this organization is at, there's a pretty good chance that they've got the survey data. Would they be willing to let you have the survey data so that we can see perhaps if there's been a shift since the survey that you conducted, Michael? And so that might also inform some of the conversation that we're having right now about what's critical, what's the community thinking, et cetera.
Supposedly, we are going to be receiving a summary model for review and a high-level summary of engagement findings posted to the website. So that's going to be excellent information.
Yeah.
When did you say?
tomorrow?
We got an update from the project manager at planning and development that after a lot of hassling, there'll be some information we'll be able to review, by the end of the week.
Oh, by the end of this week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that might be really good information to, throw out at the AGM too.
Yeah, that's why we've been pressuring to get us something, because we're having these meetings and everybody wants to know how it's done.
Could be celebration.
Yes.
And I think with that, unless there's anything else the steering committee has, we've covered our agenda.
Seeing Dave back there, I just wanted to,
Yeah.
Dave Wilbrecht is the chair of the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee. And they've been meeting and, a lot of us have been attending their meetings and their next meeting is October 30th. And did you have something that you wanted to share with us tonight?
About the meeting?
About anything?
So, for that meeting, we're gonna have the city of Blaine attend.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll be there. I'll be there with guns on.
Get a bet on it?
They called me and asked if they could come.
Yeah, well,
That's good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is good.
You know why they wanna come?
They're in the back seat. This whole process of their annexation. And,
Yeah.
comp plan updates and they're just scrambling, I think. You guys went to
oh, yeah.
presentation, I have to imagine a lot of the unspoken languages around trying to catch up, trying to get people informed and involved and notified.
UGA right now, they're not
Yeah.
focused on anything other than trying to get their act together. I do know when we went to the meeting at the planning development meeting, when they canceled going there for the second time. The commissioners, there were a few of them that were pretty upset with the fact that you don't just cancel at the last minute when you're supposed to be presenting something. But again, with that being said, I feel very good about the fact that the reason they're not moving forward is because of the work we've been doing and putting the pressure on them against what they're trying to do with bringing in Birch Point. And so now they're backing off and the semi-annual meeting basically stated very simply, we're waiting to see if the de-annexation vote goes. If it doesn't go, then we need to go to Plan B. As it is of going for Birch Point, that's dead in the water. But the third thing was, but it could be in some form over there, but not what we're seeing with the 1,000 acres. But could be in some form,
Will be,
will be.
I bet.
And it took a lot for him to even acknowledge that. Yeah,
Was that
That's
Alex?
huge.
yeah,
That was Alex.
yeah, that was out. So,
It was very poorly attended,
but we were there.
but we were there.
I have two kind of questions. One, I was wondering if Mr. Wilbur could give a summary of what BBCAC is and the history of that for anyone who might not be familiar with it. And then two, would it be appropriate asking the committee for us to send out an email saying, hey, if you're interested in this discussion, here's the meeting to go to? I could see reasons to and not, and I feel like when we send out too many emails a month, we get unsubscribers. Because everybody gets a lot of emails, but, or do we want to stay out of it or what? But I'd like the committee to discuss that and then, but also learn a little bit about that.
I think if you stay out of it, you're in trouble. Because you're not giving them the information they want.
I think we need to go to great lengths we have worked hard to be apolitical and to not take positions that a future legislative elected body of a future city or should make. And I don't think we should be presumptuous that it was a great process, very transparent and open process for people to be involved here. But, I think our voices as individuals and members of the community are very appropriate. I think this group should stay far away from any activity that might be perceived as trying to influence public policy.
Yeah.
So with that said, the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee is very much the opposite of that. We were formed back in December, January. Positions were filled around February, March. And we've been meeting once a month, pretty much on a regular basis, pretty consistently with all the members that are part of it. We've had, folks come regularly who aren't part of that group, but are very interested. All of you are welcome to come to that meeting. The very first part of the process, because we just were formed and didn't really have any mission or perspective of what to do with ourselves. It was kind of like a decision that I made, that it is to just get informed. So we started inviting people to come to the meeting, developers, engineers who work around here a lot, the water sewer district manager came and presented information about their comp plan updates and so forth. And so we were really just in a learning curve about what was going on in Birch Bay. And we tried hard, I tried hard to not get into the corner of supporting an incorporation. I'm feeling kind of like you are, is that we want to see what the facts say in terms of the feasibility. And then once that happens, then if the Birch Bay community gets around it, then I think the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee can certainly become a very strong advocate if that's the course that the community wants to take. Because our job is to advocate for the community. And I have a kind of a future thought around that, which is if incorporation actually occurs, it's years before a city is really off the ground. And I'd also say that if the feasibility study group were to study any city in the state of Washington today, none of them are feasible. There's no city feasible today. When you look at all the costs and all of the programs and all of the things that cities are trying to do. And so there are always many of them, except the wealthy ones, and there are wealthy cities around who have depth and capacity and resource. But most small cities don't, most rural cities don't. They're just stringing along, trying to control their expenses, and they're negotiating with their cops in ways that they're trying to preserve their police officer force because they're jumping ship to go to a higher, more expensive operation that gives more money, is better over time. So it's very competitive, and they're struggling. Blaine is struggling, Ferndale is struggling, all of them are. And so there's no reason to believe that Birch Bay won't struggle. That's the truth of it. And so the trick will be, I think, to really think about, I think Bob at the meeting we had where he presented all of his background on the cities he worked on, that the legacy costs are controlled. So for example, City of Blaine, I was a city manager there for 5 years. For City Hall downtown on H Street was just crumbling. Mold was growing in the ceiling. I mean, it was just a horrible work condition. And they had some choices to make. And one of the choices they made was to move out of the building. They could have moved into a storefront that they rented, but they opted to buy the Banner Bank building.
Yeah.
That became a large nut to crack every month because they have debt service on it. Right? So decisions are made by politicians for all kinds of reasons. Some of them are the best reasons in the world, but there's legacy costs that just become enormous and difficult. So we as the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee, I think once the feasibility study's out, and this group, I think, will decide what you're going to do with it. If it's something that you want to support, then I think the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee would support it. And then we would work in concert with this group as well as with the county. And because our job, and the county council has been very receptive to us. We've gone a couple of times, make presentations. Shar was there and Lisa was there, and they were familiar. Matt, you were there, I think, at that night. They know who we are. We have presence when we're there. I think we can start talking to them about things that we are talking to them about things that are important. And most recently, this whole comp plan update and how we're part of that conversation. I think they're listening to us. And so I'm really pleased about that. And I appreciate all the support and effort that everyone has put into it that has helped that. Certainly the city of Blaine is taking a step back and is having to rethink its proposals and plans because of it. On their own, they wouldn't have done it. And you can tell that's happening through a report that was done by Roland Middleton at our last CAC meeting, which was they had filed a appeal with the Inverness SEPA document, and they were awarded, or is not the right word, they negotiated an outcome of about $550,000 of traffic mitigation to help pay for traffic improvements. And that's just one project. And so that's a significant thing that happened, because now that's the new bar. Water, the surface water will be a big part of that conversation too, but there's much more to be done. I can answer any questions you might have about the committee or.
I've been at a couple of your meetings. And I've enjoyed the meeting.
Mhm,
It's been informative.
mhm.
You know, it's like anything else. Everybody has an opinion and so there's opinions of a dime a dozen anymore.
Mhm.
But it's been informative.
Yeah.
You're at the church I attend.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for coming. So to go back to yes, go ahead.
So in terms of the comp plan, how are you getting involved in those conversations?
So we've
Can you
had,
speak more?
there are some people in the group who are very familiar with the comp plan itself, and they're doing it directly. And then we've gone as a committee to the council. I think we're waiting for the next opportunity to testify at a planning commission.
Okay.
So we're doing direct testimony.
I think that the committee did support, Birch Bay Water and Sewer District had to do their preferred alternative plans for the comp plan update. And the committee did support one of the alternatives, which was the one that Birch Bay Water and Sewer District preferred, and the committee supported that.
For the urban growth areas, the reserve and all of that.
It has to do with
The location.
location of future facilities and future development preferred towards the south end versus the north.
Oh, good.
And as a result
That was
of
early on.
that was just purely a financial.
Yeah.
Consideration, how much it costs to run pipe and pump
Yeah,
sewer, and we felt the closer it was to the plant that exists today,
More
the less expensive it's gonna be for the utility rate. Ratepayer.
All of the conversations that we're having this week at the city level, it's growth rates, growth densities, population. Have you gotten into those conversations?
I have not.
You haven't?
gotten into that.
Okay. Just was curious if they were pulling you in
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, when I did go to the meeting, I think you guys were at the city hall meeting where
Mhm.
Alex Winger presented the city of Blaine's response to those new
Projecting.
mandates with
Yeah.
different types of housing types and,
Awesome band.
yeah. So, and I'm not sure what the county's planning out here. I don't know that.
I can get that for you.
Listening.
Yeah, I think so.
What did you say?
I
Snow?
think they're listening, see how things turn out, but
Did you guys schedule a meeting with Matt? Annette?
That's
I think they're.
that was.
Oh, that's the
they-
one
they-
you guys went to? Okay, cause.
No. In their last meeting, they talked about trying to schedule. one
Oh, okay.
And we did
with Matt.
have Mark come to the meeting.
But Mark was at their next meeting after.
Oh,
Mark did
okay.
attend our meeting
Oh, good.
as a result of that request. You want just going back to just a general comment on the feasibility study, you said that planning and community development had a project manager?
Yep.
So, I've been around lots of these kinds of reports, most of us have probably. And the pace of the report is one thing, but it's also the demand from the client. That's another really important thing.
Yeah,
So there's got to be a way, the best way is through a positive relationship, right? They want the same interests and outcomes as the group wants. So do you feel that way?
I think we all want a credible, well-supported report, so yeah.
Okay,
And
and she'll drive it.
I think Amy shares that goal and
Okay.
vision from my experience with her. So
That's great.
I CC Danielle from the advisory committee on the email saying, hey, we should have drafts comparable city selection and the needs and drivers by now. Can you share that with us if you have it? And if not, when do you expect it? And she followed up as well, asking for the same thing. And I think that coming from the advisory committee helped get some action on it. I think that's why we then today got an email saying, we're gonna have something for you.
Everyone's gonna want to see that report. They're gonna want to interpret the report, they're gonna want to analyze it, debate it, whatever. To put together the communication plan before you release it.
Hmm.
So it doesn't get released in some fashion, you
Yeah.
don't want it to get released, or it
Good
doesn't have a
point.
narrative with it that you have a sense about.
So good.
It's not that you're holding it back, but I would recommend really thinking through the communications that you're gonna want to have in place and who you're gonna want to get it to and what kind of media you're gonna go with, any kind of press releases,
Yeah.
social media updates. I mean, I would have a well-developed plan
Mhm.
that somebody's in charge of so that there's pace to it and it makes sense. There's a good spot for FAQs. There's people asking questions about it. You need to set a situation up so you can get that documented
That's very good.
and keep people informed about it. And then something that keeps them in front of people, because this is like any star that flashes, right? You're looking
Yeah.
at it, you're paying attention, then life gets in the way, holidays are here and people are gonna lose its energy and its the attraction around it. And you have to rebuild that. So I'd suggest some kind of a future thinking plan as well.
Yeah.
You're keeping it fresh, producing information regularly about the outcomes and so forth. So there's good analysis that goes into it. So people are seeing that you're just not buying the first page. You're not buying the executive summary. You're actually using the data to create a plan for the future. I think people they have small minds and long memories or something like that.
Mhm.
You know, they get busy and they get forgetful. I do. So that's a recommendation.
That's great advice.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
good advice.
And if the committee is not comfortable with sending out like something promoting the BBCAC meeting, can we all individually via our own?
Well, I don't think the community has any issue with that at all. We want people to be participating and the more we have, the more we can report to the council. We had 25 people at the meeting or 10 or 100, whatever.
Well, we
That
want
gives us more capacity
we
to
want to
represent the
separate it,
community.
still keep that, we don't want there to be a perception that the groups are too close or aligned or whatever. Keep some separation there, but we do want people going to those meetings because it took a lot of work to get that thing going. And we could do some good.
And as you're saying, we, several of us have been going on our own to these meetings and making comment and things like that, but going forward, what the BBCAC is our actual representation, our vote. We're giving them that same level of concern and information so that they can feed that back as community representatives as well, so.
And I didn't mean to express any concern over the idea of encouraging people to be aware and be present. I may have misunderstood. I thought we were talking about be aware, be present for this issue. So if there's a distinction there in my mind is
I was envisioning, on the next email, I think it could be appropriate to send one out saying in the next, say a week from now, say, reminder for the steering committee election. By the way, a little thing saying, this is BBCAC. They were a little summary. Their next meeting was here. They would love for you to come.
Yeah.
Just devoid of any discussion of issues. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, and I think Dorley and I have had some road time to some of these meetings lately, and we've come up with a little bit of some ideas to get the word out a little bit better for you guys too, that I'm gonna assist her with, so. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Dave, one of my concerns about a city is it might tend to be a money grubber, which costs them more in the long run.
Under the law, as I
Yeah.
understand it, if the city of Birch Bay were to become a reality, then you can incorporate Birch Bay Water Sewer District into your organization, and then you can start increasing utility taxes around that.
You get taxes without interpreting them.
No,
I'm not advocating, I'm just.
No.
That's what cities do.
I know, they get, oh, there's money there.
That's where the politicians.
Any cities in Washington state that just gave up being a city because it was expensive?
I don't know that. I took the city of Mammoth Lakes into bankruptcy back in 2012 because they got themselves so upside down with the development agreement, they lost a $40 million judgment. That was pretty nasty.
So they fell into a developer, right? Yeah, that's worse. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to call
What
out,
city was that?
counties aren't immune from these challenges.
It's like
So
Mammoth Lake.
Mammoth Lake.
not incorporating doesn't mean we don't have those same challenges managing resources and expenses. I think incorporating means that we would have more decision making over how those challenges are addressed here.
They're much closer to your home. People that make those decisions are your neighbors.
They're,
Yeah,
right.
that's
And
it.
they're
Right
available.
here.
That's
And
Not over
harnessing revenue.
On that note,
Yeah.
7:26, we've done really well in these meetings at the time in the past, so I want to stick to that.
Where's Capri?
Thank you so much for speaking.
Yeah.
That's
it. Move to adjourn?
Everybody, please make an effort to try to get people to go support these meetings, because it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Any last input from anybody, or questions or comments or anything before we wrap up here?
Good job, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the advice. Thank you. Adjourn in a second.